A lot of people ask me, how did you get the idea to Sparrow, And actually it was quite simple. It was just kind of a fluke. I was in Los Angeles visiting a friend, and I had to walk over an overpass over to 405 early in the morning, like right at 8:30. And I was halfway across the 405, and I looked down, and it was 5 lanes of traffic in both directions stopped. And the diamond lane was kind of wide open. But not a lot of people want to ride motorcycles in the diamond lane in traffic hours because of all the pollution and rain and everything, and the clothing they have to wear to work. So I was looking down and I thought, God, what if we had a little tiny electric car that took one person and it could qualify for the diamond lane, and could have a respectable range, maybe 40 miles, something like that in city traffic. And that's where I got the idea of the original Sparrow. And came back and got together with my head model maker and a couple of my engineers. And I said, okay, Vince, this is what you got to do. I put a piece of 4x8 plywood on the floor. I bought 3 small wheels, and I put a kitchen chair on it, 4x8 piece of plywood, and I said, so it's real easy. Just make an electric car out of that. And he did. And this went on, and it took us a couple years to make a great prototype, and we had some trial and error. We invented several facets of the modern day car at the same time. The Sparrow's actually an ovalic sphere, like a monocoque airplane, so there's no chassis, but you're sitting inside of a fiberglass egg, more or less, called a sphere. It's like being in a big helmet, and that makes you extremely safe in a small car, and it removes the need for having a metal chassis. So the 3 corners of the car, the 2 front wheels and the 1 rear wheel, are actually bolted to the monocoque egg. So that's one of the inventions that came out of it. And the second invention that came out of it was the single-sided rear swing arm for a 3-wheel car with the drive motor in the swing arm pivot. And what that meant is the belt tension or the chain tension would always remain the same as the rear wheel went up and down against the shock, because the motor sprocket was in line with the pivot of the swing arm. And then it meant that the swing arm only approached the rear wheel from one side, which meant you could remove the rear wheel like a normal wheel on a car, rather than have a double-sided swing arm like on a motorcycle. So there was 2 good patents, mechanical patents, that came out of that idea right at that time in 1995, 1996. So we had a couple good guys working on it, Vince and John Ortiz, and a couple other guys. My son and I worked it all out. And in 1996, we took it to the San Francisco Auto Show Thanksgiving week at the Moscone Center. It was a big hit, big rage. And we took a bunch of orders. We were never able to fill them, but it was like almost an icon figurine of change at the time. So we were pretty excited about it. And then later on, we changed the car around a little bit, made it so it could be registered better. And we started actually making Sparrows in 1998. We made them until 2003. And we made about 287 of them. And I was talking to a guy just on the phone the other day. He thinks there's 150 of them still on the road. So that's pretty good. We still hear people trying to support them and finding them and putting new batteries in them. But Sparrow actually is considered one of the basic building blocks of modern day thinking of what an electric car could be. And if you really start thinking about it, we were before the EV1 Chevy, and we were before the RAV4, and we were before the Prius. In fact, I can remember distinctly the Toyota guys telling me, we're working on a new car, a hybrid, And we learned one thing from you: that car has to look different than a normal car. So that's why when the Prius came out, it had such a different look to it. So that's how they figured that all out. So the Sparrow was the greatest product I ever worked on in my life, and it was very rewarding. I think the business plan was too far ahead of its time, and it suffered from, the dot-bomb crash and a lot of financial changes from the 90s into the 2000s. But people are still looking for them today, and I take phone calls every week on how do I get my Sparrow running. But it was a great feeling to work on such a wonderful product. Thanks a lot.